So the first thing that people want to know, because it's kind of a industry buzzword, is, well, what the hell is generative AI? And it's something that everybody talks about it. It's kind of the buzzwords now, but I wanted to define it. So how do you think about it? How do you think about generative AI?
Yeah, generative AI is really a tool that we can use, right? So I think people are probably most familiar with ChatGPT, right? A million users in the first 5 days that they launched that platform.
Yeah.
But it's a tool that takes the data that we give it, and it actually produces out new content for us.
Right, which is amazing. So I don't know where you were the first time you played around with the ChatGPT thing, but I was like, holy crap, like this is different. This isn't like Google search. Like this is a whole new world. And the definition of generative AI is that it can produce, content on our behalf, essentially. But the second part of the AI story, I believe, is really the AI model itself. And this is where I think it comes back to kind of our business and the VAR business, because what AI does is it learns based on the data that it was given. So if you're looking at even the evolution of ChatGPT going from 3.5 to 4 and these new versions, they get infinitely more intelligent as they go along. And so what I think is really important to understand is it's not just this concept of it can do things, it's what are we training it with? And I think more and more, the models themselves are going to be even open source now, where you can go and find these types of models. It's really the things that are inside the model, which is the data that you're feeding it with, what's helping it make these types of decisions. What's your thought process on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to be more effective if you got that good data. When we think about even with Checkpoint, right? Our secret sauce to our threat cloud AI and what we've been doing for decades is that experienced data that we're able to take from all of the customer that we have across the globe and put it into these AI engines that we've got now to kick out data faster, better, and in a more robust way to protect everyone around the globe.
Well, what I think is interesting is when we were talking about this, we were talking to several folks, including you and others at Checkpoint, and you guys were like, "Yeah, we've been doing this for a decade."
Yeah, exactly.
And it's true. Like manufacturers like Checkpoint have always had these types of models where they're learning from the other users on the platform, and then they're sharing that information across everybody to minimize threats. So, but what I think is interesting is we're now applying the same type of methodology you guys have been doing for a long time, and we're starting to think about how can we apply this to the business side of networking. And so I pulled some of these kind of general slides because they're so interesting. So McKinsey, obviously everybody knows McKinsey, the big research firm, is saying that there's going to be a $2.6 trillion annual impact in using generative AI in business. And this is really, really crazy. But the really interesting part is that it's going to be applied towards 63 different use cases. And this is where I think we can learn a lot from it. And if you look at the highest value, it's what we're doing as service providers every day. It's sales. They talk about internal development, and that's more team development, product development and marketing. And then also customer operations, which is just a huge opportunity. And when we're talking about network as a service, the goal is to be able to sell a customer essentially a subscription. And so the more we can automate of that process, in theory, the more value that we're creating for our company.
That's right. And your customers benefit from that.
Well, that's exactly right. I think in our first call, we were talking about the digital experience that we offer our customers.
Right.
And I want to tell some stories here just for a second. It triggered us on my brain. So we're implementing this type of software and this type of functionality for several big companies. They're VARs and MSPs. And what's interesting is you go into these companies that have been around for 30 years, have existing processes. And when you go into these meetings, you automatically have people that are excited and one end of the spectrum, and then the other end of the spectrum you actually have people that are like detractors.
Terrified. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, well, why do we need to do this? We already have a process. We're already doing something.
Yeah.
And I think the answer is you implement it for your customer.
That's right.
If you think about, like, I'm sure that Christmas season's, around the corner. So we're all ordering packages on Amazon, and we've got this great digital experience with Amazon, and our packages get delivered to us. We know exactly where they are, and they're using AI, obviously, and they're using all this automation even in the warehousing. And what we're talking about is we need to not just receive that from other companies. We need to be able to provide that as a service provider.
That's right. Can you imagine if Amazon was still taking orders with paper and pen, right? Looking at human history, like that's where it all started. Everybody used paper, pen, grids. We moved into just kind of compute, right? With the mainframes and the processing of tons of data and pulling all that data into one spot, at least, right?
Yeah.
And now we've got AI that can address that massive data subset, and then take it to correlate and build relationships and find patterns, which is why we ordered packages last night and I've already got them today.
Well, what I also think is funny is there are still, like, you're talking about green screens and paper and stuff. There's actually still a lot of that in the VAR channel. There's a lot of people that are still kind of operating in that mindset. And so, yeah, we've got to kind of move into this century.
Yeah.
With the technology.
Yeah, exactly. It can't be looked at as this new technology and something brand spanking new. It's an extension of the interaction we've had with technology for a really long time.
All right. So one of the questions that we get from a lot of folks, and this is natural for you to start thinking about this, is the question is, will AI take my job? So what's your take on that question for companies that are in kind of the VAR and MSP space?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably top of mind for a lot of people. And so we have to think about it as a no, but yes, right? And when we say yes, in terms of augmenting and improving what you're doing.
Well, so that I actually think the answer is absolutely it will. But I don't mean that in a hey, we don't need any more network engineers anymore.
Right.
Hey, we don't need any salespeople. I just believe that it's going to change your job. So in the way that we've been having these, what's really funny is if you study history, there's so many periods in history where there's been new technology been invented, like, the printing press, it changed the way we did business, manufacturing lines changed the way that we created things. And there's just example after example over history. And I think what's interesting now is that we're at this inflection point where AI is going to really change how we function as humans. But the way I think about this is, I do think of it kind of like Iron Man. If you've seen Iron, I watch all that crap.
Yes.
So yeah, in Iron Man, he's got Jarvis, and then Jarvis is a robot, and he's got AI, and he's helping him build things. That's the way I view the way it's going to evolve. Is you're effectively, you have agents, if you will, that are helping you do different things. Is that your perspective as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to build on that analogy, right? Jarvis may be the brains behind what he's doing, but in the end, Iron Man, is still the one doing those things.
He's a creator.
So it just makes it easier to do those things.
Absolutely.